I don't take any leads because I don't need them, but I want to provide the unbelievable lifestyle for my agents that I've been able to create for myself.
Welcome to the MegaTeam Mastermind podcast. I'm your host, John Tiller. In each episode, we have dynamic conversations with industry powerhouses, MegaTeam leaders, coaches, and other thought leaders who are shaping the future of real estate teams. This podcast is brought to you by MegaTeamMentor.com, where you can get a free, detailed assessment of your real estate team's health, including a free customized scorecard that will quickly and objectively diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of your real estate team business. Now, let's get started on the journey of growth, impact, and legacy building with today's episode. To successful real estate mega team leaders who will inspire you by sharing real-world stories of success and failure, building profitable real estate teams that make an impact and leave a legacy. I'm your host, John Tiller, and today I couldn't be more excited to share with you our guest, Grigory Pekarsky, from Chicago. And Grigory has built a new model after testing and trying other models in with real estate teams over the years. And he's hit on something that he's going to share with us today that's pretty amazing. Grigory, hey, welcome to the show.
John, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, yeah, of course. So Grigory's the co-founder and managing broker of Vesta Preferred and the Vesta Team, the number one independent real estate team in the state of Illinois. Also just the number one fan of Chicago and a real big advocate of Chicago and what it's got to offer versus other big cities across the U.S. He's self-described as on a mission to let the world know about his great city. He just crossed, or is just about to cross, $1 billion, that's with a B, folks, $1 billion in lifetime sales volume. He's got 25 agents on the team with an average sales price of $500,000, and only using this model that he's currently in for the last 3 to 4 years. So, Grigory, man, I can't tell you how excited we are to get started. Why don't you start off just by telling us a little bit about your history, specifically to real estate, the models that you went through that maybe didn't work quite as well, and then what you've landed on now and where you're at today.
Totally. No. So again, thank you for having me on. I've been excited to jump on and tell our story. It's something I'm really passionate about. So, Vesta was founded in September of 2009, and it all actually started out of the luxury rental space. So when I actually moved to the Chicago market to do rentals in 2008. Got really good at it, understood high volume selling, advertising, marketing on a volume scale. And my business partner and I, we were at a previous firm together. We realized, we were head and shoulders above everybody else in regards to production. We kind of figured out this automation process on how to approach rentals. We're like, well, let's try it out on our own, right? We're like 23, 24-year-old hotshots thinking we know everything. Yeah, why not? And we started by essentially just replicating what we found to be successful. And for a few years, we kind of were doing the same thing, just doing a lot of kind of volume producing, lots of rental sales. And then all of a sudden, we found a trend where our renters were buying and they weren't using us. And we were like, wait a second, but they were like, well, but I thought you were just a rental agent. We were like, hold on. So we started to ask our renters if they wanted to buy. And then overnight, we became top producers because we had at that point, we had hundreds, maybe 1,000 leases at that time, right? So it's like the conversion ratio, if you have a lease, is about 30% of your renters are going to turn to buyers every single year. Mm-hmm. So we just got massive into sales. And we were like, wow, we make a lot more money on this side. And what's interesting about sales is that it's actually easier to buy buyer leads, than it is for listing leads, leasing, right? So because we were constantly trying to find lead source, whatever, we're like, okay, so we got this whole platform on how to approach an online real estate leads business, but we did it on rentals. So we were like, what if we just did the same concept but did it on sales? And ever since then, we've just kept perfecting our ability to source leads, figure out how to work them in the best way possible, how to coach the team to be able to convert at the closest ratios, understanding our numbers from how by the channel and the funnel of where that lead is, what the expectation is, all the way from initial phone call to appointment set to appointment met to how many appointments you need to get a contract done to how many contracts actually end up. So we are a massive statistics team. That's all we focus on. We call them MMAs, money making activities, because the only thing you can control are your actions. You cannot control results. We do not care about results. But because we are so obsessed with our in-the-day momentum, our activities, because that is what we can control, we then always know what we can forecast to be able to sell. So kind of continuing on, we started to taper off the rentals as we got bigger and bigger into sales. We got better. We found more lead sources. We kind of, started to buy more leads. We started to understand, if you spend $1, where can you make 3 here? But the biggest iteration has been how we figured out the last piece of the puzzle of this whole thing is how to get the right people and then putting them in the system to maximize their productivity and efficiencies. So that has been the massive success that we found in the last 3 to 4 years that has gotten us to a place where we beat the industry-wide performance by 40%. So we beat the industry by 40% last year. And this year, we already did what we did last year by June of this year. So we are on pace to double our production from last year. So we are in a hockey stick moment where we are just accelerating to the very, very, very next level. And everyone's like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, well, nothing different. We just did the same thing consistently over a long period of time, which is the formula of success. We've just been doing it for a few years now. So now we're starting to see and reap our rewards from all of the work that we put in that we never let off.
There's so much good there, man. So many timeless principles that you've discovered along the way there. I'm going to try to drop into a couple of those. First of all, any of us who have had property management companies, we all know that's a database of gold, but many of us have not figured out how to convert that into sales business. And that's actually astonishing to me that 33% of renters are going to turn into sales. Is that sales with you, or is that people that are going to buy that is the opportunity is 33% of your rental database?
I mean, that's what we've seen is that 33% of renters in these situations, maybe the different price points change, but like where we are, 33% end up buying or being buyers. And maybe that's also shifted to be a little bit lower just because of the tough market that we've been in with inventory. But overall, I mean, okay, say 25%, right? But 1 out of 4 then of renters are going to turn into buyers, right? So, and then that's just year over year. Eventually, most renters are going to turn into buyers anyways, right? So it's just a constant of communication, reminding them that you can help them buy.
It sounds like you're really focused on statistics. Do you have a KPI or an idea of that 25 to 33% of how many, or a goal of how many that you want to convert there per year?
Well, we don't do any more rentals, right? So like that's not a.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a rental division where we help our old landlords. All of our KPIs and our metrics are based off of the funnels of the leads that we have.
Gotcha.
What the specific metrics and expectations are for those specific funnels. And then along the way, how many inbound calls do you need to be able to get an appointment? How many appointments do you need to be able to get a contract? So that is what we base our coaching on every single week, one-on-one with our agents. And every single agent is different with where they need some help. So maybe somebody can't get enough appointments. Okay, well, we listen to their phone calls, and we listen on how are you asking for it. Okay, maybe one agent's going on a lot of appointments without getting any contracts. All right, well, what are you doing on these appointments? How are you qualifying these properties to ensure that it's the right ones? And then how are you prepping the clients mentally to be able and ready to make a decision, so that everything kind of continues on to our expectation of, in some cases, we have 25% conversion ratio for our inbound leads.
25% from lead to closing?
If you give me 4 leads, I'll close 1.
That's fantastic, man.
But like, but like Zillow Flex, for example, because we're a Flex team, we're one of the best closers in the country, and we're at 15%.
Yeah, that is one of the best in the country. If they can get 10% is their published conversion, right? But their average is probably around 8 or 9% around the country. So 15 is actually really high for Flex. So tell me about, knowing your numbers is so important. You clearly know your numbers. I love your MMA statement, your analogy there. A lot of us call it IPA, or income producing activities. You call it money making activities. It's a phenomenal way to position.
Oh, what it is, man. Make that money, honey.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And being obsessed with daily activities, because we know that the right activities produce the right results. We almost don't look at the results at all. Tell me, if you had to pick your top, or for what you do look at today, what are your top few KPIs that you're looking at when it comes to getting from the process from lead to conversion. Certainly, you know what it is overall by lead source. And then if I can throw another question in there, what is a good, for you, what is the lead? You had mentioned spend $1, make $3. Is that the ROI that you're looking for? Or are you targeting something different there?
Yeah, so, and sorry if I cut off right there for a second. There was like another call coming in, so hopefully everything's okay.
Oh, good.
So the main metrics is like what you would expect, right? So like online leads, everything is speed to lead. That's it. Like the first thing you have to understand is like how quickly you respond to these guys, right? We call it a minute or less, right? So it's like if you don't get back to somebody within a minute or less, that lead is pretty much gone. 50% chance of like them never talking to you again. So we've created different metrics to never allow for that to like fall off as much as possible, so we as a company can absorb as much as possible. But then it's just a matter of communication, right? So like when somebody comes in, any sort of lead, they immediately get in our CRM an action plan that gets automatically assigned, which outlines all of the activities based on the type of lead. So how many, what's the delta of how many calls you need to make on the first day, the second day, the first 2 weeks, right? What are the emails that need to go out? What are the texts that you do? But like phone calls and picking up the phone that's all it really is, right? And we just have a list of daily activities that we just want our agents to focus on. And then that's it. If you can focus and finish these specific things, you can usually get your entire day done of stuff in 2 to 3 hours.
Yep.
And in that specific focus of 2 to 3 hours, you're going to do more focused activity than most agents do in a week. And then I tell my agents, listen, mental health is one of the most important things you got to keep on top of. Remember to do something positive for you. I do mine in the morning. I work out, right? But like go out, you like to golf, you like to get a massage, you like to go to the beach. You can do that. Just get your shit done. That's it. It's all you got to do. And it's that easy. It really is. Because that if today you didn't close something, but you got your activities done, and it takes 100 calls to get 2 deals, and you did 10 today, nobody called. Okay, tomorrow you might get it, right? So it's like it's just you understand your stats and statistics, and we just keep you accountable to that. And lo and behold, we never had any agent start with us that hasn't done a deal within the first 30 days. And every single agent that's on my team is not going to do no one's going to do less than $10 million. So it's like we just have absolute killers on my team.
I love it. And so tell me about inside sales. Do you have inside sales agents? Are you, and how does that work with the other agents if you do?
Yeah, so I have 2 ISAs.
Okay.
They are, we have, when it comes to reaching and outbounds and like how do we go out there, we have everything from automated texting to like the AI that is most people don't even know about to and different types of AI platforms. So like we've launched automatic calling AIs. We've launched automatic texting AIs that have an understanding of how you even look, and it has a CRM built into it so that it knows that if a lead clicked on something and stayed on a photo of a kitchen, it understands that person might be more interested in kitchens and starts sending them more units with kitchens, right? So it's like crazy stuff. And then I have 2 ISAs that are constantly outbounding, calling seller leads, buyer leads. So we have up to 100 leads that come into my office every single day, right? And the way that we do it is we scrub everybody to the point where my then agents, when we pass off to them, we know that they have the best chance to close them because we know that they're breathing individuals that are actually have intention to buy. Then it's on my agents to do what they're best at, which is convert.
Got it. So do your ISAs don't actually set appointments? They scrub the lead to find out qualification, motivation, that kind of thing.
What we found is that when we got them to do that for our agents, it promoted, I wouldn't call it lazy because my agents are not lazy, but it promoted bad behavior where they started to lean on them too much. And so we needed to sharpen the tool again, and we needed to put that specific activity in the agent's hands so that they can control that flow, and then we got a better conversion ratio.
That makes perfect sense, and I love that. There's lots of different ways to do that, right? Sometimes you'll have ISAs that set appointments, but then they have some accountability with making sure that the agent converts and the agent's conversion rate. But what you're saying is, hey, listen, you got to stay on your toes, agent. I've got you a hot lead here. The ISA did the hard work of scrubbing it. Now all you got to do is do what you do, which is close. Yeah. And you get them to close the appointment. They meet on the appointment. And then you also don't have to struggle with no-shows, which are higher if the ISA sets it and they're meeting someone else. So that makes perfect sense. Now, you talked about AI and AI certainly in the back end of what people are looking at on your website. Are you using AI tools like Ylopo or anything else that's kind of off the shelf? Or are you guys building your own stuff?
No, when we started this company, we actually tried to build our own CRM, and that was our first lesson, and to never do that. Like, it's a lot. The money that you need, like, you basically need to run like a secondary fund just to fund a like tech, which if you're not planning to sell or you're not planning to become a Compass, then what's the point, right? So we have different solutions. Like, one of the solutions, it's a really well-known one. It's called Localize. They're really, really good, but they have an AI base with live ISA calls. So like, that's one of the guys that we use. So yeah, I mean, it's all over the place, honestly. And we're just constantly looking at metrics for money in to money out. And, it's red light, green light principle. It's like, we're okay cutting anything off if it's not making us money, but we give it a 6 to 9 month run to give it a real chance to see if it's good or not.
That's another just golden nugget, is how long is too long and how long is not long enough to test out a new lead source. And 6 to 9 months that's a great time. There's so many people, obviously you quit after 30 days. You just threw away your 30 days of money, sometimes 90 days. We've had some teams. We had a team we interviewed just the other week, Jonathan Campbell out of New York, out of Pennsylvania. He'll kill me for saying out of New York because he's in Pennsylvania. But he also operates in New York and some other states. But they've got it so dialed in. They're the number 5 team in the country. They've got it so dialed in that they're like, look, no more than 30 to 90 days. And that's a hard place to get, but it's a good ideal. But I see way too many people going months and years without a conversion rate. So what is the target? What's the target ROI for a good lead source for you?
Yeah. So, to kind of just take a step back before I answer that is, the most important thing that people focus on or fail to focus on, it's not about the length of time. Length of time is the secondary part of the equation. The first part of the equation is, do you have your system in place that that you can systematically, consistently do the deliverance of whatever the activities are, whatever it is, regularly on a regular basis, so that you can then give it a real shot. Because if you don't work a lead source in the same way every single time, you don't know if it's you or it's the system. You want to be the consistent factor in the equation, so that if it really doesn't work well, then it's not on you and that it's a bad source. And the reason that team can do 30 to 90 days is because their system, I'm sure, is so dialed in. You can easily tell very quickly, if these conversion ratios aren't working. For us, honestly, it's something where, we want to we don't want to lose money, right? For one of the big factors that I do is I promise that I give my agents more business than they bring me. That's my guarantee. It's a completely on its head model when it comes to a brokerage. And for me to do that is I need to find value. The way I find value is I find business, right? So if I can get them convertible business in a ratio of, let's call it minimum 10%, minimum onwards, then that's something that we can work with, right? And then that'll become profitable in its own way. But right now we have a listing platform that we're trying out. I haven't gotten a listing signed yet. We've been in it for 10 months, but we can tell the potential because there's so many leads and and that just is a longer sales cycle, right? So you have to be very kind of fluid when it comes to the type of lead source you have.
Well, and that right there, that's gold too. It depends completely on the lead source type. On Zillow Flex, it's not going to be near as long. On something that's more of a nurture that hopefully generally would be less of a cost, it's going to be a longer conversion cycle and a longer nurture time. That makes perfect sense. Well, let's talk a little bit about your business and your role in it. So help us understand your leadership structure with your team, and what role do you play, and what are the other key roles on your leadership team?
Yeah, no, so it's my business partner and I, that's the two main principles. My business partner is internal and I'm external, right? So I do all podcasts, I do kind of recruiting, I do all the videos, I'm kind of that guy. Brad is the numbers guy. He's incredible at management. He understands metrics. He does the coaching one-on-ones with everybody, right? So he's internal. He makes sure that everybody is on the line of towards success. So my job is to create brand awareness, right? Recruiting agents, and also trying to find new lead sources. So that's what I'm always constantly trying to do. But the model here, the way that we did it, and the reason why it's so successful, is we took a look at the day of an average broker, and we saw that, at the end of the day, brokers need to do consistently like things that don't make them necessarily the money, but they have to do it to make the money. So things like, even appointment setting, transaction management, marketing, all of these things that like they might not be that great at, but they have to do. And then when it gets busy, things start to fall off, so they don't do it on a consistent basis, and then their business slows down. So we took all of that away, and we systematically created business models to be able to offer them all of the things they need: appointment setting, marketing, transaction management, all the things that they need. And all I want them to do is I want them to focus on where the highest productive efficiency is of their time and what they're great at: selling, nurturing, and taking people on appointments.
MMA.
So that is how, that's it. So that is how we 10x people's businesses the first year with us. And that is how we get people to become just absolute monsters of efficiencies and deliver tons of value. And that's why I provide more value to them than they are typically providing to me, is because at the end of the day, what they're giving me is something that I cannot find. They're giving me great attitude, work ethic, and humility, so their ability to be coached. And they are just all in to be able to then convert these leads that I provide to them at a 10% plus conversion ratio, right? So it's like everybody wins.
That's so good. Patrick Lencioni calls that ideal team player. He wrote a book about it, and he talks about ideal team players being humble, hungry, and smart. And that's what you're talking about, right? The ability, the attitude, the work ethic, the ability to connect. Smart means emotional intelligence, not necessarily book intelligence or academic intelligence, but emotional intelligence. And because at the end of the day,
it's a great attitude. Great attitude is 70% of your success formula.
That's it. So Grigory, what is your superpower in business? You kind of outlined your role.
Yeah.
What's the thing that like you bring to the table?
Yeah.
That you feel like you're adding the most value to your team by doing?
Yeah. So connections, right? So like my thing is like I am I'd say like the vision of the next move. And then somehow, some way through my networking and my network of people that know me, I find the next step and connect it together, right? So it's something where, like, I'll tell you an example. Like I wanted to do a speech on success, right? So last year I created and curated the speech, and I didn't really know why I wanted to do it. I just did it. I was like something that maybe I wanted to recruit. I wanted to kind of like, like create this thing. And so then what I did was I pitched to Chase, because they have a Chase Tower here in Chicago. I was like, hey, can I do this speech on the rooftop, on your penthouse, and you can invite anybody you want? They were like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And the whole time, like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm just doing this to do it. I got about 35 people that came to it, right? I worked on it for like 4 months. I was like obsessing over this speech that like I thought maybe nothing will come of it. What ended up happening is the Chase leadership saw that. They were very impressed with it, and it's opened up tremendous opportunity with me in that realm without me even thinking about that, right? So like I times that by 10 every single year. I just do crazy things like that, and then something always kind of comes out, right? I was just talking about yesterday. Real estate universe pays you back for the energy you put into it. It just, regardless of if it's activity, regardless if it's unique thought, regardless if it's whatever it is, the real estate universe will reward you for the amount of work you put into it. And that is what, like, I mean, when you talk about the superpower, I mean, I guess that's it, that I've just kind of plugged into without knowing that's the way that it is, and I've just figured it out.
You hit on so many good things there. Adding value to people is really, a different way to say what you just said, is you're always looking for adding value, whether there's a return on it or not. And public speaking, like if you're a team leader listening to this and you're not doing any kind of public speaking, take Grigory's example, man. Like it will just go do something great, become a great public speaker. There are great books on the subject. There are lots of people need leadership. Speaking of leadership, you had talked about how you tried different models that didn't work. Tell me about the lessons learned in those models that led you to create what you created today. And be specific for me. If you can think of, specific times when you lost an agent that you didn't want to lose, or it was just you created a culture that you didn't want to create?
So it's very simple. It comes down to one thing. That's value created and value added. I've had failed partnerships. I see my agents as a partnership as well. And whenever somebody left or whenever it didn't work out, it's because one side of the formula was providing more value than the other side, right? And whenever it comes down to it, that's all at the basis of what it is, right? And sure, you can say greed, sure, you can say that, but if somebody's getting more from something than they're visually thinking that they can get somewhere else, they'll never leave you. So the whole model around this is I promise to give my agents more business than they can bring by themselves. So, my guarantee that, if they do $1 million, for example, right, by themselves, with me, it's a 1.5 more. Always. So 1 million by themselves is going to be 2.5 million with me, right? And I'm actually delivering at 3 to 4x. So 1 million by themselves is actually 4 to 5 million with me, right? So at the end of the day, it's we've only had 3 people leave the team since the new model, and it's not that they went somewhere else; they left the industry, right? So it's something where it's the basic principle is value based, and my value that I provide is leads, systems, and coaching to then create the opportunity and an environment to let the broker become the best broker that they can possibly be, and that they only see the competitors of who's staring back at them in the mirror. That's it.
Were there times before the last 3 or 4 years that you kind of learned this through maybe not having that value focus on an agent, and you lost a good agent that way? Or maybe you kept agents you didn't want, and that didn't really help the culture? Yeah,
so I'll tell you specifically. I mean, there was a moment in time when we lost half of our workforce in a 24 to 48 hour period. I didn't want to start another team. I was done with it. Like before this team model came to us and it was like, whoa, this is it. I told Brad, I was like, I don't ever want to have a team again. Like, absolutely not. Like it's just, people, for the most part, if you have the wrong brokers, which 97% of them are, 97% of brokers just fucking suck. They're going to suck all your energy. They're going to want all of your shit. They're going to not perform, and they're going to ask you when the next party's at, right? Get fucking out of my life. So it was, and that's what we had. We had a gang of losers. That's what it was. But the thing is that, we didn't see it as that because we were like, the mindset of most brokerages are like, more is better, just have more heads, then you can start to control. But then you're competing with these other brokerages that have figured it out for 100 plus years, that do have the parties, that do have the leadership, that do have the money to be able to but then it's for them, they have these 3,000 brokers where 2,900 of them aren't performing, but they're feeing the hell out of them. And then they're basically fee models. That's what they are. They just kill everybody by 1,000 cuts, right? So we couldn't perform in that way. And what happened is that, there was one bad apple, the main bad apple. He found a better deal at this other brokerage, right? But he was everybody's buddy, everybody's friend, because it's very, incestual in this industry. So that he went to go get it, and then everybody followed him. And it was just because I didn't have the value promise, that the value at the time to be able to have them be like, well, they don't have X, Y, and Z. It was just like, it was a good environment. We gave them a lot of leads, but we didn't follow up and keep them accountable. So they were just bad apples, and everybody left. And that was like, dude, we spent so much time, so much money, so much just energy on trying our best to give them something. And it was just a matter of bye. I was like, dude, never again. Literally never again, right? So now it's like I'm obsessant about making sure that I'm over-delivering on my promise of value. I'm just obsessing about it because I know what happens if you don't.
There's some things that we do this podcast so that people can learn from our mistakes. And sometimes you got to learn from your own mistakes. But what a great way. I think any team leader that's been in the business for a long time has had a moment where they're like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Leadership's hard, man. It's hard. And you put in all of the effort, all of the work, and then you get a return of, hey, well, we're leaving and we're taking everybody with us. And so good for you, man, for hanging in there, self-analyzing. That's what a lot of us need to do, is we need to look at our business, and instead of, there's a kernel of truth in every criticism, right? And it may be true that that we're not as bad as they say they might have said we were on the way out the door, but to look at what we can improve and what we can do there. I love that. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of change coming up in the industry, and as leaders, our job is to lead first. And so we're at the time of this recording, we're right at the end of July, just before the NAR settlement rules kick into effect in mid-August. And wanted to know what you're doing to prepare your team for the upcoming changes related to the settlement.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a massive opportunity for market share. I really do. Also, a massive way to not waste more time than needed on the clients that aren't serious and ready to go. So starting June 1, no one can work with anybody in our company unless they have an exclusive buyer agreement. Like, awesome. So I wanted to get my agents enough time to be able to mentally prepare, understand the pitch, which then ultimately has altered their perception on what the value they bring so that they're like, wait, you're willing to sign this? And because it's a really scary thing, and like somebody has to be able to see that you're valuable in the solution to wanting to buy the house to sign that, and then they also have to sign on what the compensation is. So now my brokers have become empowered. They understand the value that they bring. They're getting really good at the gab. They're getting these contracts signed. And remember, we're numbers guys. So now we're starting to understand how many contracts it takes to get a deal done. So now, because we have these contracts in place, we're able to forecast what our sales are going to be like. That's part one. But the biggest win is that, at a 15% conversion ratio, you're still getting 8 or 9 people that are wasting your time. We are actually, when we're talking to people now, we're converting 30 to 40%. So 3 to 4 out of 10 of these people are signing. So not only do we double our conversion ratio, we save 60% of our time, because 60% of the people that we're never going to buy and tell us to F off, they tell us from the start. And I'm telling my agents, I'm like, you've just doubled your closing ratio and saved 60% of your time. What are you worried about? This is incredible.
My good friend Ethan, who hosts the Real Estate Team OS podcast, says this is a moment, if you're listening, to hit the back button on your podcast. The opportunity that Grigory just shared is big time. And man, you nailed it. It's not only now we can forecast our buyers much more accurately than we have before from appointments, because we actually have agency agreements that we didn't have before. But we also now we're raising the standard with buyer agents who are articulating their value proposition. And great agents will do that, and not great agents won't. And that's kind of okay. But the great agents now are spending their time working with people who actually it makes sense to work with. We'd never dream of working with a seller who didn't sign a listing agreement, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'd say the one thing for people to think about when they're thinking about their pitch is, if somebody sees you as an asset, they won't even look at where to sign. They will just sign it. If they see you as an expense, you'll be out of business tomorrow.
That's right. Cost without value is price without value is just cost, right? Yeah. There's no return on that expense for the buyer, and we just have to start looking at it differently. And I love that you started that June 1st. I mean, talk about leaders going first. You guys are absolutely ready for it. Tell me about AI and anything. I know you're using some AI things in the business now. What do you see? Do you see opportunities with AI in the future? Do you see, what are you using it for now? I know you talked a little bit about when people are searching on the site to use it for that, but tell me your thoughts on that.
So the only reason AI works for us is because we're volume. Right? At the end of the day, like the AI platform Localize I was telling you about, like they can do 300,000 texts in a week, right? They just can't. Like I can't do that, right? So and I don't give them my best leads. I give them like my leads that like were 0.01% conversion ratio. Yep. And then I'm like, all right, make this 1% conversion ratio. You'll 10x my conversion there, because you can do it in such a vast way, right? Yep. So like AI is just it enhances my abilities. It doesn't change my abilities, right? So it's like I'm like, all right, cool. Now because I know my platform and my ability to be able to perform so well, I know that I can put it here, and it all is because of the volume side, right? If somebody's like, well, oh man, I can't wait to use this AI system to start automatically responding to leads and then setting my appointments for review. Like, it's not there yet, dude. And like you're gonna get way worse conversion ratio if you're thinking about it on small scale. AI only works on big scale right now.
That's really good stuff. I think a lot of people are afraid that AI is going to eliminate the human interaction, and I think you just said it really well. AI can just do what we can do, but do it faster. And certainly there are some things that are probably above all of our pay scales, above all that are going on in the AI world, and opportunities that will come. But what a great way to use it now. On this podcast, we talk a lot about impact and legacy, and I wanted to ask you about what you're most proud of that your team is doing to make an impact in your Chicago community.
Yeah, so outside of just representing Chicago in the best way and bringing in the most buyers into the city, right? I always say that we're the door staff to the high rise that is Chicago. We're the welcome party, right? Like it's like it is our job to fight all the negative connotations of what an amazing city this is, and get people excited and put them in places that makes them fall in love with the city, and it gives us lifelong residents, right? So that's part one. The second thing that I do is I run a real estate boxing charity. It's called Real Estate Rumble. And we just had our 11th year. We do it in Chicago. We've done it in LA. We're going to have our first year in Detroit. We've raised over $300,000 for kid-based charities. And it's an absolute riot. We get, completely out of shape brokers to fight each other for the kids. It's an amazing night in real estate every single year. And we're now working on our 12th year. And the idea is to have it across the country in a few different cities, and to have a title fight in Vegas. And that's we're slowly but surely doing that. Vesta is always the biggest sponsor of it on an annual basis, but I run it. So it's like, and when I say like, I was really, really involved with a lot of different charities, but when things got really busy, I just kind of focused all my efforts onto one thing so that I can do the best with that one thing.
Man, that is amazing. So Real Estate Rumble, what a way to focus efforts on that. Hey, where can people find out more about Real Estate Rumble?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to chicagorealestaterumble.com. We're also on Instagram. I'm not sure if you're going to have my information on the podcast. Just let people reach out to me. If somebody wants to bring it to their city, we're always looking for host cities. It's a box. It's a event in a box now. So we're just, as we're trying to grow to at least 5 cities within the next 2 to 3 years.
Man, that's fantastic. All kid-based charities raising $300,000. Man, that's no joke. It's been amazing. That's something really fun. Now, back to being the welcome party to Chicago and having people fall in love with the city. What's the number one way that you're doing that?
Well, first, I think it's like people kind of, if they're not used to real estate in Chicago, I think they come in and they're like blown away by how much you can actually get here for the money, for the like lifestyle that you can have in the city. We try to do events like we're gonna do, since we're gonna hit $1 billion this month. We're doing a big picnic party at big park in the city. We're bringing in because we have a lot of business owners that own small businesses, so we want to feature them and kind of have them set up shop, so kind of like a Vesta community almost, and just constantly reaching out, staying in touch with people, seeing how they are, and being connectors, right? So like we are always about like the real estate is just the first part of the process here, right? It's the part of your journey. So it's like, we want to be facilitators. Like, hey, what's the best place to eat in West Loop? Hey, what should I go take a look into? Where should I show my family if they're coming in for the day? So it's just being very knowledgeable about the socializing and the fun parts of Chicago as well, so that, we don't just sell real estate, we sell the lifestyle that is Chicago.
So good. Now, are you do you primarily do that through video or just through one-on-one interaction?
Yeah, so my agents are always the most kind of out and with a ton of. We sold 52 homes this month, right? So we have a lot of houses, a lot of people that we kind of see and are always interacting with. I am going through a renaissance of my social media game, so I've taken off a lot of stuff and I'm starting to put it back out there. But the idea is to start promoting more Chicago-based stuff, the culture, everything dope started in Chicago. So I just want to show that. I want to showcase it. I want to show my beautiful city and, get not just the 5 neighborhoods most brokers focus on. I want to talk about the 77 that makes up the city of Chicago.
So good. So on to legacy. Looking back in the rearview mirror, what's the most significant life experience that you feel like has influenced your business today?
Having kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Realizing success and happiness are two different things, two completely different things. You can choose to be happy today, and then that'll help you enjoy the ride towards success. Well, too many people get the two combined, and they don't like, separate that. So they're constantly chasing what they think is happiness through the success they're not finding, or once they hit their level of success, they're not as happy as they thought they would. So it's this constant like rat race, hamster wheel. My kids made me like, dude, I have like my happiness with my children has nothing to do with how many houses I sell, right? So it's like I'm like, I want more of that, but I'm going to use my real estate to give me more of that. So now that it's two different pathways, I'm able to enjoy myself so much more, and I can separate the business from the happiness, and it's changed my life.
It's incredible. Kids will do that, won't they?
They will do that.
They'll put things in perspective. So
Yes, they will.
you separate those, and you have this excellent intentional focus on the business serving the family, the business what's valuable, serving the family what's priceless. How do you, when there's a conflict between the two, maybe the business wants to take a little more time, how do you resolve that conflict? How do you integrate or balance the business and the family?
Yeah, I mean, it's just having an amazing partner, right? Like my wife she's my, like my number one, she's my rock. She's like, gives me everything that, support base that I need. She understands when I need a little later of a night or whatever. At the end of the day though, like my business partner and I, we also agree, like we don't ever want to miss certain activities with our kids or whatever as we get older. And as they get older, so like we've built business processes around that, right? So we have people and agents, I don't have to work after 5, and I don't have to go on the weekends. I still do because I enjoy certain things and elements, but I don't have to. But it's not that I'm not producing. I'm the number one producer by, in the company still, right? So it's like, and I'm having the best year I've ever had in my life, and I'm taking my kids on a Disney cruise in 2 weeks, right? Like, but I know that on that cruise, I'm not going to have to work. And that's been massive, massive for me. It's taken me a long time, taken me a lot of money to invest and a lot of bad people to get to the good people that now help me with my business. But when there's a will for something that you really want, which is, so clear to me what makes me happy, that no amount of money, no amount of business, nothing will ever give me more of like that type of satisfaction. You just figure it out, man.
You are a great example of learning how to scale your profit and to take back your time so that you can love your business again. Many people, so many team leaders, especially with the changes coming up, so many team leaders, broker owners, they're afraid of what's coming and how to balance what's really priceless in life. And you're an example that you can have it all. It takes work, it takes intentionality, it takes commitment, but it can all be there. What Grigory, as we wrap up, what would you say is the most important thing that team leaders need to know in today's market?
If you're not providing value to your team, then what do you have, right? Like you have glorified showing agents. And I say that all the time, right? It's like, why do you have a team, right? Do you have a team because you want to help people or you want to help yourself, right? And if it's you want to help yourself, don't hire team members, just hire employees. There's a whole successful business model of hiring showing agents that are full-time, that all they do, or, a showing assistant or whatever it is. Like, just understand what it is you're trying to build. Like we have a massively successful real estate team. I don't make a ton of money off of that. Like, just the truth is, like, I just don't, because my intention is I am on this pathway for sides. I want to have a ton of numbers of homes sold, because it opens up a whole different platform and opportunity of what I'm trying to build next, right? So, like, to me, my intention isn't to make money off of my team. My intention is to give my team what they want, provide the best agents so that they can give me the production back, and I can take what the house split is to then invest into the overall platform, right? I know where we're going, right? There's a reason why we're called the Vesta Team and not the Grigory Pekarsky Team, right? I always say that, is that, like, depending on what the team's name is, I think there's a very clear definition of who is watching out for what, right? So for me, it's like I have a bigger picture in mind of how to help everybody here eat more, and I'm building that for them. And they see that, and they don't want to leave because of that. And I lead like that, right? So it's when I'm talking to team leads and whatever, like, how do you do what you do? I'm like, because I don't take a single lead for myself. If you're cherry picking leads, you're just an asshole. You're just an asshole. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't take any leads because I don't need them, but I want to provide the unbelievable lifestyle for my agents that I've been able to create for myself, show them how to do that, change their life, right? If you change someone's life, they will stay with you forever. And that's all I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to change people's lives financially, mentally, all of that, give them the best platform, and tell them what we're building so they get excited and they stick with me because they want to be a part of it.
Well, and that right there is legacy. That's what you're building, is your fruit growing on other people's trees, your efforts being realized by other people's families. Grigory, thanks so much for taking the time today. Really just appreciate you joining us on the show. Where can people find you if they're looking for you on social media or online?
Yeah, so it's my super long name. It's my first name, Grigory, Grigory _ Pekarsky, P like Paul, EKARSKY. That I'm the most active on Instagram, but you can follow me on LinkedIn or whatever. Shoot me a message. Always happy to chat.
Love it. Thanks again for the time, and great congratulations on $1 billion.
Thank you.
Thank
you, John. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for having me on.
And that's a wrap on another episode of the MegaTeam Mastermind. I hope you found some nuggets of wisdom that you can use to leverage your real estate team to make an impact and to build a legacy. A huge thank you to our incredible guest and, of course, to our sponsor, MegaTeamMentor.com, where you can get a free detailed assessment of your real estate team's health, including a free customized scorecard that will quickly and objectively diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of your real estate team business. That's MegaTeamMentor.com for your free real estate team health assessment. If you enjoyed the show, I would consider it a personal favor if you would subscribe or leave us a review so that we can get this podcast out to others who want to make an impact and leave a legacy. I hope you'll tune in to our next episode for more leadership insights, strategies, and stories of success and failure. Until then, this is John Tiller, and as always, I'd like to speak an ancient blessing on you as we go. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.